Hey guys, this is a tactics training for advanced players. I will be solving puzzles so you can see my thought process as I find the solution. Keep watching. Okay, black to move here. Let's find the main problems for white in this position. The king is very open, it's completely discovered, so that's like a big problem for white here. Out of that, it doesn't look like white has too many problems, so let's focus on the king and let's work with checks first of all. And well, the most tempting check I can look at here is knight f3, but white can play like king g2 then, and it's not clear how we can be winning then, or maybe it is. So let's see, king g2, queen g5 check, the king goes there, and then we could coordinate queen and bishop over the diagonal in a battery, and this looks actually very interesting. So let's see, knight f3, king g2 is an option, which does not seem to be working because of queen e5 with the battery. Knight f3, bishop takes is another option, but then I take here on h3, and I don't see how can white escape from mate with queen h2. And knight f3, knight takes f3, this time we should capture here with the pawn, and when the bishop takes, we can capture here on h3. That line looks very well, because I'm threatening checkmate here on f2, and the only way to stop it is by moving the rook, so the king can escape, but it's going to be mate anyway, starting with bishop h2. So yeah, knight f3 should be the right line, and after knight takes knight, which seems to be the most complicated, we take, he takes, queen takes pawn, then this is winning. So I'm going to play that. Here we said pawn takes, and here we said queen takes. After rook e1, there is a typical mate in 4 moves, starting with bishop, queen and queen. So white to move here, let's find weaknesses. The bishop is unprotected, we're controlling squares around the king is also very open. So those are like the main problems we can find here. Let's work with checks, trying to target some of these weaknesses, like for example the king. And let's see, we have some checks like knight f7 or rook g8. We need to start with one of them, so let's analyze first rook g8 and let's see what happens with this check. So rook g8, the king can come here, then we can give another check with the other rook, involving both rooks in the attack. After king takes knight, which is the only move, we can give a check with the other rook, and then the king has two moves, here or here, but h7 is made with knight g5, so probably here is the best. And then I need the king away so I can checkmate over there, so I can play knight g3 check, the king comes here, and then we have mate. So let's see, rook g8, king h7 is not going to be working, but there is another line, they can capture the rook, but I have the feeling this is not going to work. We have mate, we can play knight f7 and knight f6, that's checkmate, exactly. So just to review the other line, rook g8, king h7, rook g7, king takes knight, rook g6, king takes pawn, knight g3, king h4, and then rook h6, this is mate. So this should be the right line, I will play it. So check, we said check, and then knight g3, and then rook h6. Okay, black to move here. Main weaknesses for white. Well, the main weakness is clearly the king, very discovered, and we are controlling many squares around the king. So out of that, well, queen unprotected, I don't think that means too much this time. So let's see. The checks are not really going to work too much because we are pushing the king back, and then we need to work with captures. And there's this idea of queen takes rook, which is looking very well, because we have some ideas of checkmate with rook, knight, and pawn. There's a famous mating pattern they call hook mate. For example, queen takes, rook b1, and if the king comes up, we have mate here with rook e1. That's hook's mate or hook mate. So queen takes rook, rook takes. I'm looking at after rook b1, rook d1. So d2 is available for the king when the king comes over here. So I can take the rook, but the king comes to e2 and the king is escaping. However, king and queen are both in a very interesting position. So we could have some fork. He takes, we take the queen. This endgame should be winning. We have a piece up, equal pawns. So that has to be the line. I mean, queen takes rook. There's no check. So this is winning. I will play it. Okay, white to move here, and there is an unprotected bishop here. That's probably like the main weakness. But also we need to say that we are attacking the rook. He's defending the rook. So this rook here is a dependent piece. We're attacking I mean, this rook here is a dependent piece, and this is a defender. We're attacking the pawn on f7. He's defending the pawn on f7. So this rook here is a defender again, and also this point here is a dependent threat, you could say. So as we were analyzing, we found that the rook is defending both pieces. So there is this idea of knight takes pawn, which is actually very tempting this time. So let's see, knight takes pawn. If he takes, we're getting the rook on a8. So knight takes pawn. What can black play here? Well, I don't know. Let's say rook b8, but then at least we can capture the bishop. When he takes our queen, we can take his queen. So yeah, this is going to be winning if he plays that. So yeah, this is going to be winning. So knight d5. This is a move we didn't mention. Let's take a look at this. Knight d5. Now he's attacking our knight, but also if we move the knight, he could be getting f2. So let's see how we play in this situation. We can trade here. We shouldn't capture because he has at least perpetual check. With queen queen, always there will always be some check. So how do we play then? Well, the other option is this rook takes e6, which is actually looking very interesting because the king is going to be on that diagonal. If the queen takes, the queen is also going to be on that diagonal. So there could be many tactics after this. For example, rook takes knight shouldn't be working too much because of the capture of the rook and the capture of the knight later. And rook takes pawn, he can capture with the queen. But again, it's not a problem. We trade queens, we capture material, and we are fine. So yeah, rook takes e6 has to be the line. And they stop the puzzle there. Okay, white to move here. This is a tactic endgame. And here we can play king f3. We're in check, or king h3. Those are like the main options. So we need to decide how do we continue. That it should be one of them. So let's see, king f3. If the king moves here or here, we are taking the pawn. Okay, but king f3. Also, there is knight f2. And then if we capture, but we don't have to capture. But if we capture, there is king h1, and this endgame is a draw, I'm pretty sure, because if we capture, it's a stalemate. So king f3, knight f2, we can give a check, and this is going to be winning, because when the king goes up, we take, the pawn is controlled, and we capture the pawn and we win. So king f3, king h2, not a problem, we can capture the pawn. The king comes to h3, and this endgame is winning because the knight is in the corner and it's a theoretical position. So white wins. And king f3. Well, the other move I think is king f1 is mate, and king f3. The other move is knight g3, but then we don't have to capture the knight immediately because then he goes to h1 with a draw. So king f3. Knight g3, we capture the pawn and then the knight with the rook is the idea. So yeah, it looks like king f3 is winning in all the lines. Here we said we couldn't capture the knight immediately, we could give a check over here. and then we capture, and then we control with king f2. Okay, white to move here. There is a bishop hanging over there. I really want to capture it, but probably there is a tactics or something over there. The king doesn't look like in big trouble, so let's see. Queen takes bishop. We're getting a piece for free here, but black has two main options like rook b8 or rook a7. Rook a7 I go back, so we don't have to worry about that. So queen takes bishop, rook b8, queen takes a6, knight b4 attacking queen, knight b4 also attacking fork over here, threatening fork, but we can play queen c4 and we are fine. So I don't see any problem with this capture. Let's see, queen takes bishop, knight b4 directly. We can just come back and the queen is safe and we're avoiding the fork. So yeah, we can capture the bishop, right? Well, a4, this is a move we didn't analyze. So let's see, a4. The threat here is rook a7, because now he's controlling b3. Everything is controlled over here. So black is threatening rook a7 now. So what do we play? I think we can capture the pawn. This is an option. So rook a7 does not work because we escape over here. However, if we capture the pawn, there is rook b8, and I don't see how we're escaping there. So instead of capturing the pawn, what if we play like d5 here, attacking the knight, d5, rook a7, the queen cannot escape, we capture, and we capture. So we have like two minor pieces and a rook for the queen, one pawn on the 7th rank, so yeah, that should be winning. So yeah, d5 is the best move I can find here, right? I would play it. And then we take the knight, and we take the rook. So black to move here, and there is a bishop hanging over there. We're attacking the knight, he's defending the knight very well with rook and bishop. We're attacking the bishop, he's defending with queen and knight. We're attacking the other knight, he's defending with the rook. So let's see, there's a threat here with bishop h7 attacking our queen. So how do we continue in a position like this? Well, the first move I can see is the capture of the bishop, right? So this is a bishop for free. So let's see what happens after queen takes there. So queen takes bishop. White can try g3 in that position. That's interesting, because when we go back to g5, which is the only move I can find for the queen, white can try then h4 or f4. After that, I should play queen h5, like the only move, and then bishop e2 could be a move, but the knight could be hanging in the line of h4. In the line of f4, the knight is not going to be hanging, so let's stick to that line. So queen takes bishop, g3, queen goes back, a4. Then we are analyzing queen h5, and then there is this move, bishop e2. I have to play then queen h3. The only threat I can find is bishop f1, and then I have to play queen f5, for example, and then they can try bishop here. I see the plan. Well, the problem is that after bishop f1, yeah, the problem is when white plays f4, there's a this diagonal is completely open, so there will be some check at some point. So let's see. Queen takes bishop, g3, queen g5, f4. I think we can play queen h5 at this point, and after bishop e2, then bishop c5 check is going to be winning, because when the king goes there, which I think is almost the only move, we have check. So yeah, queen takes bishop, g3 is not a problem. I don't see anything else, so I'm going to take it. We said queen g5, and we said queen h5 is fine here, right? And then we take. Okay, white to move here. The main weakness should clearly be the king on e7, very open. We're controlling squares over there. the bishop is unprotected here, but we have a lot of material down, so it doesn't mean anything. So we have to work with checks against this king. I mean, targeting the main weakness, which is the king. So queen takes pawn or queen h4 are the checks. So let's see. Queen takes pawn is too tempting, so I have to analyze this one. So queen takes pawn, black has two moves: bishop e6 or king d7. So yeah, king d7 is a little annoying because the king is escaping over there. Also, I don't see how to win after bishop e6. So instead of calculating this one, I will go to the other one, to queen h4. The only move for black is king d7, and then this move is looking very well. Bishop f5, because then we are forcing the king to come back to e8 to stay protecting the queen. And then the only good move I can find is the check with the queen on h5. I mean, there is also knight f6, but let's take a look at this one. It's more forcing this queen h5, because the only move for black is king e7. Then I can play queen g5 again. The only move for black is king e8. I'm making progress with my queen, so I can play then queen g6. The only move is king e7. Queen f6. Only move is king e8, and then queen f8 is going to be checkmate. So I'm gonna check that. So queen h4, king d7, bishop check. The king has to go to e8, queen h5, king e7, queen g5, king e8, queen g6, king e7, queen f6, and queen f8. Yeah, that has to be the right line, so I will play it. Queen h4, bishop, and if the king goes down, there is mate. If the king goes up, I guess we capture the queen, because even when he takes our bishop, we can capture the rook, but I think we have mate with queen d5, queen b5, so this is fine. Okay. So white to move here. Let's find some weaknesses. I mean, is this the right position? Because I mean, there's checkmating one here, right? Okay. Well, that's mate. Black to move here. Let's analyze. White just took a knight here, so let's see how we can get something in this position as black. I mean, we have two pieces down right now. Weaknesses, well, unprotected bishop, knight, of course, protected bishop. We have some ideas on this king over there because the queen is over there, also the rook, and we have a dark squares bishop. That probably means something here. So, well, I see how we can get a draw. Like, for example, when we work with checks, we see queen takes pawn, we see bishop check, and then when the king comes back, we have bishop h2 check, king comes back. I don't think I'm winning in that position, but bishop g3, he can still capture my rook. I take king u1. I'm not winning, but I have a draw. So that makes sense, because we have two pieces down. We can get one, but also we are losing the exchange here. So I think getting a draw in this position where the attack is getting over is going to make sense. So that should be the right move. So queen takes pawn, bishop, 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 and then we take, and then we repeat. Black to move here. Let's find weaknesses on white's position. Actually, everything looks very well protected here. So the only real weakness I can find is that we are attacking here, he's defending here, but also the bishop is helping. So that's like the only problem they could have in this position. So let's work with checks. And the first move we need to analyze is queen takes g2, forcing the king to, attracting the king to this square, and then we can have a double check, like knight e3 or knight f4. Knight f4 is very interesting because if the king goes to u1, we have checkmate. But the question is, knight f4, what happens if king g3? How do we win then? There is this move, knight 6 to h5, which is forcing the king to go to h4. But again, the same question, how do we continue after that? Because we can play g5, but he takes, so we don't get too much. We can play h6, wanting to play g5, but then he can sacrifice the queen over there. And I don't think it's going to be good for black. So yeah, king takes pawn is not clear. King takes, knight f4, king here. Yeah, it's not clear. I mean, I can give a check. King h4. Yeah, I'm not winning. I'm not winning in that position. So let's change the idea. Instead of sacrificing the queen to extract the king, let's discover the bishop by moving the knight. So there is this idea, knight goes to c3, attacking the queen, threatening mate, and well, the best move I can find for white is knight takes bishop, but then we take the queen, he takes the knight, and then what do we have on the board? There is a knight over here, there is a rook over here, so we have a queen versus rook and knight. Also there is a pawn, but that should be fine for black. So I guess this is the move, knight c3. But well, it's not completely clear, but it's the best option I can find here for black. Knight takes pawn is not working because of knight takes knight. Knight f4. Okay, let's see. Knight f4. We're threatening checkmate here. g3 not working because of knight h3. So yeah, this is probably the best. This knight f4. Yeah, because there's no way to defend g2. Because it's not only about the bishop, it's also about the knight protecting our queen when we go there. So yeah, knight f4. I mean knight f4. Yeah, that's winning. That's winning. That's the right option. So I would play it. Yeah, there's a check. Well, we capture with the bishop, right? And then that's mate. Okay, black to move here, and then this is an endgame. There's this option of trading rooks, which is very tempting because we are simplifying the position. And then we are in this endgame with king and two pawns versus king and pawn, but his king is a little more active. So let's see. Rook takes, king takes. We're not going to get in time to protect the pawn because he's playing king g5. So the only option I can see here is trying to get his pawn very quickly. So let's see. Rook takes, king f8, king g5, king e7, king takes pawn, king e6. Yeah, this is winning. This is winning. This is clearly winning. So rook takes rook, king takes rook, king f8. Yeah, I'm winning, so I would play it. And here, well, we need to play king f5 here. Okay, black to move in this one. Let's find weaknesses. The first weakness is the king. We're controlling things over there. So out of that, well, we're attacking the queen. He's defending the queen. I don't think there is anything else we need to highlight here. So let's see. Checks. Knight takes pawn is a check. He probably captures here. And then this is not looking so good. I mean, I'm losing my queen in the next moves. So not knight takes pawn. Let's work with another check like rook takes pawn. If rook takes rook, knight takes pawn check, king here. I'm not winning there. Okay, so not rook takes pawn. Rook takes the other pawn here. But then, yeah, white has too many options like queen takes or maybe pawn takes. So yeah, it doesn't look like a move that wins here. So probably the checks are not really working this time. So maybe we need to work with captures. And then this is the first capture, queen takes queen, pawn takes queen. But I'm not getting anything. And the other captures, well, I don't think I have any other capture because I'm losing my queen. So maybe it's a threat. It's the only option here. Like for example, queen g7 is a very good threat. It's a very good threat because I'm attacking g2 with 3 pieces, as he's defending with 2. So queen g7, what does white play? white is in trouble. So yeah, this is winning. This has to be winning. Queen g7. Yeah. And then king here, we can capture the pawn, but I'm just going to make sure there's nothing better. So yeah, rook takes pawn, and queen g4. Well, again we capture the queen. I mean, again, I don't think there's anything better than this. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments. I will be happy to interact over there. Thank you, like, subscribe. See you on the next.